your guide today, and we're going to be talking about Kwanzaa and how to celebrate with classic recipes. So, just feel free anytime. Don't be shy. If you want to ask a question, I'll try to get to questions that are in the chat as I go through this presentation. All right, so the objectives today is it's going to be a quick cooking demonstration towards the end. And we're going to talk about traditional Kwanzaa dishes that bring the holiday spirit to your table, and some tips for preparing and presenting a festive Kwanzaa meal, and how to incorporate fresh, wholesome ingredients for a nourishing celebration. Okay, so this is really something that is very, very specific with African Americans, specifically in the United States, but also other cultures of the Caribbean. And you'll see that as I go through this presentation of what Kwanzaa is. All right, so what is Kwanzaa? It is a celebration that honors African heritage and culture and includes traditional foods that reflect the principles and values of this holiday. And while there isn't a specific set of traditional Kwanzaa dishes, many incorporate African American, and Caribbean culinary influences into their celebrations. And we'll talk about some of the dishes that are commonly associated with Kwanzaa. So even with this quick couple of pictures that I have here on the screen, you'll see that there's okra, and then there is the cast iron skillet. There is, cornbread. And so when you think about that, that is really, especially like okra, it can have roots to Africa, right? But it's also known in the South, mostly in the American South, okra is used quite a bit. And there's a lot of dishes you could do with that. So this is how it all kind of meshes together when it comes to this holiday. So let's talk about some of the foods that is incorporated in here. Okay, collard greens. Collard greens is probably a more southern aspect of this, but pretty much a dish with Kwanzaa with collard greens is going to be southern style. And a lot of the times it is cooked with pork fat, right? Usually bacon or some other type of fat. Some people use, so mostly it's bacon, but there's also things like pigtails. I don't particularly care for it, but there's different aspects of the pig that is used to make collard greens, and what is cooked is called pot liquor. So the liquid that comes from the collard greens and the fat from the bacon kind of incorporates this pot liquor, which flavors the greens. And one way that you can cook them kind of quickly is to chiffonade them, which means to cut them into very thin strips. So that technique is used like to cut up basil. And basically what you do is you see these stacks of collard green leaves. You would stack your collard greens, and then you would roll it up very tightly. And then you would just take your knife and you would cut them into thin strips. I find that they actually cook quicker if they cut into thin strips. Some people just cook them, slice them into, kind of a wider, cut, what have you. But that's going to be a preference. They're usually braised. That means with, at a high temperature. Some people cook their greens for hours at a time. So it's going to depend on where you get your greens from. Organic is going to be better. They tend to be more tender. If you ever find yourself in a situation where your collard greens are too tough, you can throw a little bit of baking soda to soften them up. But if you get really good greens, you really shouldn't have to do that. But that is kind of a trick you can use to soften up your collard greens, okay? Some people just use water. Some people use stock, like chicken stock, for the liquid to cook your greens in. But that's the traditional way of cooking collard greens is in pork fat with the bacon, and then letting it cook with the broth. And either you're cutting it up in the strips or the chiffonade method that I talked about. But collard greens is very popular in this traditional holiday. Okay, now this is called jollof rice. Now jollof rice is from Africa, and there's different countries that do it in Africa. So one being Ghanaian, and one being Nigerian. And there's some similarities in how the spices and the flavors of that. I think I did, yeah, I did a class not too long ago, and I did like a jollof seasoned okra and a jollof seasoned fried rice. So basically, it's like your warmer spices, cinnamon, like cayenne pepper, things that are spicy. And so jollof rice, it's a longer process. So something like this, which is a big sheet pan of the rice itself. Sometimes rice will have beef or chicken. It just depends on what kind of rice is being made for that, but you can also do it without meat. Okay. I've seen recipes where they use to get it this red color. Obviously, it's the pepperiness from cayenne pepper or red pepper or tomato paste. A little bit of that is added into the rice. And then, um, you can incorporate all of that into it. So it's going to be different variations depending on how you make this. So there's recipes where it takes a very long time to make a traditional jollof rice. And I might see if I can find a link to show you how that is incorporated. But sometimes to just make something with the flavoring of, jollof rice, you can just use like a jollof rice seasoning and incorporate rice with it. So a long grain rice will be really good with this. I like jasmine rice. I think that has like that aromatic flavor to it. But, whatever you want to use is fine. I'm just trying to give you some ideas of what can give you the best flavor profile for that. So that is jollof rice, whether it's mostly Nigerian and of Ghanaian descent with that. All right. So fried whiting fish. Fried fish is traditional also. Okay. And I remember this growing up. My mother would buy frozen whiting. I wasn't really fond of it, but this is really popular. You would find it fried fish usually with the cornmeal and flour mixture. Okay. And then usually, it might be some Old Bay seasoning. People still use seasoning salt, I believe. It's all kind of like incorporated and fried up. Okay. And as you can see, whiting is more of a flatter fish, almost kind of, I don't know what the taste of it's. If you get a good whiting, it's delicious. But trying to think what the flavor reminds me of. It almost is tastes a little bit almost like catfish. It has that little bit of that type of flavor. But fried white could be fried whiting fish. It could be, I'm trying to think of another type of fish that is very prominent. But fried whiting is pretty popular. So usually with fried fish, it's going to be a cornmeal and flour mixture, probably 50-50 of each of those. So that kind of gives it the crunch um, of the fish itself. Okay. Um, so usually with the cornmeal, I like it to be a little finer texture. So there's different grades of the cornmeal that you can use. So if you like a little bit more coarser texture, you could use that. If you like it to be a little finer, you can get more of the corn flour instead of the cornmeal if you want it to be a little bit of a different texture. But yeah, so you could try yourself some fried whiting fish. If you can't get it fresh, you can try it frozen. This is what kind of like I grew up on. And then there is, oops, my thing is acting up again today. Let's see. Let's go back. All right, so we did the jollof rice. Let's hope this doesn't skip around like it did yesterday. It's doing it again. Oh my goodness. I don't know what's going on with my presentation. Let's go back. Okay. I'm going to go slow. Okay. All right. Oh, I don't know what is going on. I'm sorry, folks. This is crazy. All right. I'm not touching it. Okay. All right. So fried okra. So fried okra is another traditional dish. Okay. Um, Now this is cut up into like big chunks. So you have the fried okra pod, right? And the okra pod. I'm sorry. So fresh okra is kind of like what you want to get when you're making fried okra. You could do frozen, but you have a lot of that moisture content, and you don't really kind of want that going into your dish a little bit. It's kind of, I don't know, it's too much water content. But fresh okra you want to use, and you want to cut it up into big chunks like you see here. And the same applies for doing a fried okra. You could dip the okra into buttermilk if you wanted to, or just regular milk. Okay. And then you also would have the coating to be 50-50 with the cornmeal and flour. Okay. And then you want to season it up with whatever way seasons you want to use. Like I said, usually it would be something like, a seasoning salt, garlic powder, onion powder, whatever type of seasons you like. But those are pretty standard seasoning salt. And then you're kind of dipping it in the buttermilk and then into your flour mixture. And then you're frying it in your oil, okay, until they're nice and crispy, okay. And those are actually really quite delicious. I think I might have mentioned on another live that another great okra to use is Indian okra, which is the longer pod okra that you can get at an Indian market. But they just tend to be I don't know that they're longer, more slender. I think they have a better taste, and that will work fine in this recipe if you're ever have the opportunity to buy that particular type of okra. But so fried okra is definitely something that you can make for a Kwanzaa dish. All right, I don't have a picture of this, but chicken Creole. So if you think about Creole dishes, they always have the Trinity in it, right? So it's the celery, carrot, and onion. No, that's the mirepoix. That's the French. So it'd be bell peppers and onions. That goes a lot into Creole dishes. When you think about that, that is from New Orleans, and it's always like something tomato based, right? And then what you do is to make a chicken Creole. It could be shrimp Creole. We're talking about chicken Creole, but you can do either or, chicken or shrimp. And usually that's going to incorporate the okra that we just had in the previous slide. And that dish is with tomatoes. It has like the Old Bay seasoning in it. You cook off your chicken. Your shrimp will go last, kind of, because that doesn't take that long to cook. And that goes into a Creole dish, and it goes over like some boiled rice. And that's a very traditional recipe too. Um, and so it gets its thickness from the okra as it cooks in the dish. Nothing really fancy, but very popular. And then just cooked, and then it's just served with your cooked rice. And so chicken Creole. So it's like tomatoes, peppers, and onions, and okra. Very popular. Okay, peach cobbler. So now we're talking about a little bit on the dessert side, right? So peach cobbler is another um, pretty popular dish, right? And it's going to be served with ice cream. If you just think about regular cobbler, like apple cobbler, it is kind of like a buttery topping with, butter, flour, butter mixture that goes on top of your peach cobbler. Okay. Um, and I've seen it where people make it with the oatmeal, oatmeal and flour mixture, and then your butters. Just kind of think of like an apple cobbler, same preparation such as you're using peaches. And a lot of times for a shortcut, it will be like canned sliced peaches that go into this. So, oh, I hear someone coming on. Is someone coming to ask a question or wanted to ask a question? I think I hear someone take themselves off the unmuted themselves.
I'm
No?
just trying to look at it to see if they do anything that.
Okay. Okay.
Uh,
Oh, yeah, I can't. I'm hearing you in the background, but I don't hear a question. So,
One second.
okay. Okay. All right. So I'm going to continue on. So, peach cobbler, another popular dessert.
Yeah, okay, self help.
Okay. So, plantain fritters. This is another great dish to make. Plantains for those of you who may not be familiar with plantains, there's the green ones, which is more starchy, and then there's the plantains that's more sweet. So you'll see the it looks like bananas basically, and the
Because
yellow
every
bananas will have like the oops.
other
Can someone just
thing,
shut their mic off so I can kind of go through that?
duplicate. I'm thinking they probably
Okay.
sent that in error because it's like, okay, why would you give them another
Okay.
one? It looks
Oh,
like it's able to be paid.
uh,
Uh,
let me see.
let's
All right.
see, 12,
All right, I just want to make sure everyone can hear me. I don't know if that person can hear me because they're still unmuted. But anywho, so like I said, the plantains, you're going to see the yellow ones that have a little bit of the spotting on it. So they're going to be more sweeter. And then you're going to have the green plantain, which is going to be more starchy based. So that's just going to depend on what you want to, which kind of plantain flavor profile that you want. Personally, I think for a plantain fritter to be more like, potato fritter to make it more starchy without the sweetness, I think that is probably a better option, but that's going to be up to you. And so a fritter basically is you're binding it with a little bit with flour if you wanted to. Sometimes you don't even need that, but you just bind it with an egg, a little bit of your own seasonings to it, and then you can pan fry it in a skillet until until it's cooked. So plantain fritters is another, and that's more of a Caribbean thing, as you can see, because we have a lot of plantains that come from the Caribbean. Um, so like the green plantains is more popular in Latin cuisine, and then like in Caribbean cuisine, like Jamaica, it'll be more of the sweet plantain. So that can be totally up to you about how to make that fritter. All right, and then there's sweet potato pie. Definitely American South when it comes to sweet potato pie. Um, very, very basic. It's served sometimes for Thanksgiving, but also during the Kwanzaa celebration also. So sweet potato pie, very easy to make, delicious. Similar to a pumpkin, but a little bit more density because of the sweet potatoes. And there's different variations of how you can make it, and very, very delicious. All right. So I'm going to show you this quick YouTube video about Caribbean sorrel, hibiscus. And this is another traditional drink that is celebrated with Kwanzaa and has a beautiful, beautiful red color. So in this demonstration of this YouTube video, it's going to show you how to make this. And you can make this also without alcohol. So I'm going to play this clip for you. I mean, it's not a clip, it's like a short video. And it's a really good explanation of Caribbean sorrel. Let's see if I can play this and blow it up for you. Here, we're going to blow it up.
We know about sardine, mackerel, bully beef, chicken foot, chicken neck, chicken back. Nothing I waste, nothing I dash way.
Wagwan, what's great? Chef John Morris again, man, presenting to you how to prepare Jamaican sorrel drink. Yeah, man, I ate. Growing up as a child, this was our Christmas favorite, along with Christmas cake. And if you want to know how to prepare the Christmas cake, we already have a video out, so you can click that link above and it will take you right over there. If you come in a traditional Jamaican home and you get a slice of Christmas cake, just know a cold glass of sorrel is coming next. And what is sorrel? Sorrel is the petal of a hibiscus plant. So I asked my mom, what did you put in your sorrel? And she gave me the recipe and I want to share it with you guys today. So without further delay, I want to take you right into preparing this sorrel drink. So forward, I'm going to show you what go on. So the first thing you want to do, you want to wash the sorrel. We know we're going to get rid of some of that color, but we don't want the dirt, right? Normally you would get these fresh, but for exporting purposes, you find that they now dehydrate them and sell them. They just do this to preserve it and to get it out more to people, right? Now we have that wash, we're just gonna set it aside. We're gonna wash some fresh ginger and set them on stick. I want to grate the ginger because when you grate it, you find that it's stronger that way. We're gonna use this side of the grater. I'm just gonna leave a few chunks in there like the end parts. We're just gonna add the ginger and the cinnamon to our water. So we're gonna allow this to boil for about 5 to 10 minutes just to extract all that flavor from the ginger and the cinnamon sticks. We're gonna add our sorrel petals right into our boiling water. Give that a mix. We're gonna allow this to boil for 3 minutes and then we're gonna turn our stove off. I boiled this and it's been sitting for 2 days. The longer it is, the better, right? Just keep it in a nice cool place. Here goes our cinnamon stick, our ginger. The ginger even got the color of the sorrel. Look at that. I'm just gonna get a measuring cup and go in, and we're just gonna strain this. So there, we got everything from that. Just gonna throw this out. You don't want that in your drink. And notice how I'm using 2 strainers because I want it to be refined. Look at that, beautiful red. We got all that flavor from the ginger. The ginger is almost light as paper. So there you go, we got all the liquid that we want. So before I go ahead and sweeten this, just want to show you what it looks like. And there, no impurities aren't in it. It's as clear as crystal, beautiful. This is like a nice red wine. Yeah man, so this is not sweetened or anything yet. Now I'm going to show you how to store it the old school way. If you don't want to put it in your fridge, and you can keep this for as long as possible, like up to a year, just the same as the mixed fruits, right? So we're going to use regular long grain rice, and what this does is to help to preserve the drink. So that's how we used to preserve it back in the day when we don't put it on a fridge, right? Mommy say use your hand make fashion. Then set your hand like that to just guard the edge. Serves as a funnel. 1/3 of a cup of rice. We're just going to fold that up. You just seal that off and you would store this in a cool place in your cupboard or something like that. So traditionally, that's how we store our sorrel, and the rice helps to preserve it. So whenever time it comes, the time when you want to drink this, you just strain it again, sweeten, and I'll show you how to sweeten the sorrel. So there you go. We're gonna add some sugar. So sweeten to your liking. Personally, I'm not a fan of sweet stuff. So here I have about 5 cups. And I put 1.5 cups of sugar. You can use less or more depending on your tolerance to sweetness. And we're going to go in with some red label wine. Again, this is basically your preference or tolerance. Just going to go with about 4 corks. And I'm going to go in with a cork full of rum. Because this is very strong. This is a 63% alcohol content. So you want to be careful with the amount of rum that you put in, especially if you're serving this to kids. You can have it virgin style if you're giving it to kids. This sorrel drink is best served chilled, so you put that on the fridge, or you can just drop a few ice cubes. So you have your guests come over, you have a glass ready for them, and look at that beautiful sorrel drink here on Morris Time Cooking Ed. Once again, thank you very much for watching, and do remember to hit that subscribe button for more amazing videos like these. Until next time, safe travel on the gravel, and go on big up.
Okay, so that was interesting on how to make a Caribbean sorrel drink. Actually, I make this quite a bit. It's actually really delicious. I kind of do some of the steps that he showed in this video, except without the rice at the bottom that preserves that drink, and I don't put alcohol in it. But I've actually put mine in a slow cooker. And what I do is kind of throw all those ingredients that he talked about in there, except for you don't add you add your sweetener at the end after it's cooked and everything. But I would let it, I actually put mine in the slow cooker. I let it come up to temperature, and then I turn it off, and then I just let it sit for that time frame that he said. So it is a really, really great drink to make. And it's an easy one to do if you want to do something for this holiday. Okay.
We know about sardine, mackerel, bully beef.
Okay. So we're going to talk about a few more traditional Kwanzaa dishes. And like I said in the earlier slide, cornbread, skillet cornbread is very popular. And usually it's in a cast iron skillet. Okay. This typically will start on top of the stove. And that is with, good amount of fat or butter. And then, your cornbread mixture is popped onto that, and it kind of creates a very crusty edge. And then you would take your cornbread and you would put it into your stove to cook. And it gives this really crunchy edge. That's the only way I can say it, but really, really delicious. Some people use cornbread mix and then they add things to it. My mother, she would add like sauteed onions to it, but you can get really creative with that. But a typical one is usually made with some buttermilk with it. Kind of gives it that tangy flavor to it. And, skillet cornbread, really, really traditional dish and delicious. So you kind of see where cornmeal is being used a lot. We talked about the okra, we talked about cornbread, and we talked about the fried fish. So you can see kind of like the repetition of what is used in some of these traditional dishes. All right, so here's another dessert called hummingbird cake. So it's a layered cake with cream cheese frosting. So it's kind of a crossover of carrot cake and banana cake, okay? And so it just depends on what part of the country you're in. Usually in the South, it's red velvet also. But this is something that people still make it every now and then. But check that out. I'll see if I can find a recipe for that. But that's another classic recipe. I love cream cheese frosting. So that's something like an alternative to red velvet, okay? All right, so I'm going to show this other quick video, and then we'll do a cooking demonstration. But this is going to show you how a festive Kwanzaa table is set up. And this is a really good presentation on how to do that.
Black is you, black is me, black is us, black is free, black is free, black is me, black is us, black is free, black is you, black is me, black is us, black is free.
This is how you can set up your own Kwanzaa table at home. The candles that you see before you in Kiswahili are called Mishuma Saba, which means in English, candles, 7 candles. And the candles are placed inside of the kinara. So there are 7 symbols that you see represented on the table that are primary in your Kwanzaa display at home. The 2 right here tend to serve as a centerpiece, your Mishuma Saba and your Kinara. Each one of the candles represents a principle of Kwanzaa, and you start lighting them from the center one, the black one, Umoja, then Kuchichakulia, Ujima, Ujama, Nia, Kuumba, and the last green one, Imani. And you light a candle on each of the 7 days of Kwanzaa. Kwanzaa, of course, starts on the 26th of December until the 1st of January. So if you do it by the days, you're looking at December 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th, 30th, 31st, January the 1st. The other symbols that you see on the table represent the gifts, like the zawadi that you give during Kwanzaa, which could be books, it could be sculpture, it could be anything that's handmade. The bunzi are the ears of corn, and you see here that we have 3. The mazao are the crops, which are represented with some apples and some oranges. And all of this is constructed on top of the foundation, the mkeka, the mat. And the mat represents the very foundation upon which we stand as African American people here in the West. That foundation is our cultural traditions, and our history. Now the colors of Kwanzaa are red, black, and green. Red, black, and green. So the 3 colors represented here with these 3 pieces of fabric represent the bendera, or the flag. The red, black, and green flag was introduced to us by the Honorable Marcus Mosiah, Garvey. And then you also have the principles of Kwanzaa. So altogether, you have like 7 symbols and then what's called 2 kind of supplemental symbols, the bendera as well as the principles of Kwanzaa, which is the Nguzo Saba. And you also have the Kikombe Cha Umoja, which in English is your cup of unity. So when you celebrate Kwanzaa in your home and with people that you know, right, you put into that cup something that is nutritious to drink. It could be water, it could be an herbal tea, it could be some juice. And your family and your close friends, they stand in a circle. And if sanitation, right, will allow you to do it, you pass the cup from one person to the next. Now, if you don't choose to drink out of it together, it's okay. But just a show of unity from one person to the next, you can pass that cup around. It shows that you are connected as a unit, as a family, as a community, a common unity. So once again, you can decorate your Kwanzaa display table the way you want to, but it's so important that you have these fundamental things. Your nkeka, the mat, your kanara, the candle holder, your mishu masaba, your 7 candles, red, black, and green, that's very important. Your kikombe cha umoja, your cup of unity. Your vibunzi, your ears of corn, your mazao, your crops, and if you have red, black, and green fabric or a flag, your red, black, and green. And something to represent a gift, which would be your zawadi. Asante Sana, thank you so very much. Better Family Life is so glad to bring Kwanzaa to you once again. Take care. Tutanana.
Okay. Okay, so that was interesting. I'm gonna see if anyone has any questions. I want to make sure that I am okay with doing my demonstration in a minute, but let me just see what you guys are up to. Is any questions here? Okay, all right. I'm on my, let me just put this in here. Okay. I don't see any questions here. No one has any questions. I am going to just set up my cam for the demonstration. So bear with me. Okay, I'm going to unmute myself and we're going to do this demonstration. I think I have to stop sharing this one in order for that to happen. Okay. All right, so it looks like I'm unshared there. Let's see what we got over here. Oops, here we go. Okay, perfect. All right, thank you, Ahmad. Appreciate that. All right, so we're going to do a dessert. Okay, the one that I talked about is very popular. We're going to do a sweet potato pie, and this is pretty simple to make. Okay, so make sure I got everything in front of me. You want to be a little organized here. So I'm going to be using an already made pie shell crust. You can make your own from scratch. I actually prefer that, but if you want to make it super easy, just go ahead and get yourself a pre-made, frozen pie crust, and this makes it super easy to make the sweet potato pie. Okay, and this is a deep dish one, so you kind of want one that is going to kind of be able to hold all of this. Okay, let's put that off to the side. All right, so to make the sweet potato pie, it's going to be very simple. So like I said, there's going to be a lot of different variations on how you can make this. Okay. So I'm starting off with 2 medium-sized sweet potatoes. And some recipes will call for it to be cut it up, boil it, what have you. I find to give it to be less preparation, just roast them in the oven, okay? And then that's going to give you a lot of caramelization. It's going to give you a little more sweetness and a lot more flavor, okay? So I'm just going to unpeel these sweet potatoes that I've roasted. And you can see that this has a lot bit of, caramelization in it. And that's where all the flavor is going to come from. So I'm just peeling this off. Obviously, it's very easy to do once it's cooled down. And that's where our flavor is at for the sweet potato. So when you're boiling it, you're kind of like, it'll still be good, but when you're roasting it, it just kind of gives it a little better flavor to me, in my opinion. Okay. And I'm going to just make sure that I don't have any more skin on it. So that's one. So these are like 2 medium size, almost large, I guess, but that's relative, right? Okay. And then I'm just going to peel off the other one. So you would roast, like, depending on how long that would take. I roasted it at 400 in my convection oven for like 35 minutes. So it might take longer than a regular oven, okay? But as you can see, that has a lot of caramelization on it. That's the natural sweetness of the sweet potato coming out. And so I'm going to just take that off. All right, there we go. And then I'm going to add this sweet potato into the bowl. And then just give it a quick mash with my wooden spoon. So it makes it also super smooth too. You don't have to worry about a lumpy sweet potato pie. I've seen that happen. Okay, so it just makes it easier. Another option you can do too, you can put this in a blender if you want to. I think it comes out really great that way. And it's just dumping it in there and it's fuss free. Okay, so in here, sweet potatoes are mixed up, and then adding 1/4 cup of melted unsalted butter, and that gets mixed up in here. Then I'm going to give this a stir. All right. I'm going to see what my other ingredients are. You'll get this recipe. It's I forget what website I got this off of, but it will be in the class notes. I'm going to add in a couple of teaspoons of vanilla extract. I'm going to eyeball. 1, 2. Okay. And then I'm going to put in a teaspoon of cinnamon. All right. So a teaspoon. And then I'm also going to put in some nutmeg. Nutmeg is really, really good in sweet potato pie. I've seen where some recipes even call for like a ground ginger, which is also nice. If you like that flavor, also that could go in here. But just cinnamon and nutmeg, we're going to keep with that today. And then we're going to stir that up. Okay. And then I have 2 eggs that I'm going to add. Then I'm going to whisk them first. I'm just going to give this a quick whisk. And then we'll just add that to our sweet potato mixture. Now, some recipes will call for, they make it with evaporated milk, they use sugar, all that good stuff. But I am kind of leaning towards this where you have your milk and your sugar together. So this is like a 14-ounce can of condensed milk. And the reason why I like that is because, first of all, you don't have to worry about measuring sugar. The sugar's already inside of it. And then you also have the milk that's added to it. So it kind of gives it more of a custardy texture to it, which I kind of think is pretty good. So instead of the traditional, a lot of recipes call for evaporated milk and sugar, we're using it where we're just going to use some condensed milk. And condensed milk, very popular in the Caribbean also. And this is the good thing about condensed milk, you always have it on hand. It makes it super economic. Having it on hand. So it just makes it easy access. So a can of this in here. And then you're going to just whisk all of this together until it's combined. Like I said, if you use a blender, this will do it in no time. To kind of ease some of the lumps in here, it's not a lot. I'm going to use my wire whisk just to kind of bring it together a little bit better. And if you like a little bit more spice in here, I think I'm actually going to hit it with a little bit more cinnamon. I like nutmeg, but you don't want to get too crazy with it because it can get a little bit overbearing. So a little bit goes a long way with that. Okay, so this looks pretty smooth. It'll be more smooth if you had it in the blender. But just trying to show you, if you don't have a blender, you can just do it by hand like I'm doing here with the wire whisk. And then usually if you roast your sweet potatoes, right, you're not going to have any issues with that. All right. So into the pie shell it goes. We're going to put it into 350-degree oven. Not really know how long this is supposed to cook. But like I said, you'll get that recipe and it'll be very precise for you. I'm just making sure. That's why you want the deep dish, because this will allow all of that mixture to have enough depth to hold all of your mixture. And then you just want to kind of take your spoon just to make sure that it's nice and flat on top. And then this just goes into the oven until it is prepared for you. Okay? And here we go. So I'm going to throw this into my oven. And that is a very, very simple recipe on how to make a sweet potato pie. So I'm going to switch off on this. I'm going to see if I can share what it's supposed to look like, because I have made this recipe before. And I'm going to kind of leave this one and log back onto the other Zoom where I'm sharing my screen. Okay. Okay. Okay, let's see. Let's see if I can share that. Okay. Here we go. Yeah. Okay. So this is just like this recipe I actually made it a while back. This is just a slice of it that I had prepared. A little bit of whipped cream on top. But I actually made my pie crust from scratch. But that's going to make it elevate the flavor a lot better, obviously. But you know, sweet potato pie, pretty standard. Delicious, like I said, is the traditional recipes uses evaporated milk. They boil the potatoes, they mash it, and then just kind of mix it up, what have you. But the recipe that I'm using kind of gives you a shortcut. You don't have to make your pie crust from scratch if you didn't want to, and then you don't have to cut up potatoes. You can just roast them and then unpeel it like I did, and then just use condensed milk with a little bit of melted butter, and voila, you have a delicious sweet potato pie that will be very, very good to enjoy with friends. So that is a very traditional Southern American dessert to have, is sweet potato pie. And you can kind of get creative, like I said, with what types of spices, like how much you want to put. So nutmeg, ginger, if you wanted to. Even I have people use fresh ginger, grated ginger in there, which is really nice. Yeah, so